What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring you incredible guests from all over the world. So sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is a professional organizer. She is the founder of LMW Edits LLC. She loves to bring common sense organizing solutions to urban modern living. Please welcome Lucy Wahl. Lucy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So now I love organizers. I have a I have a very clear impression in my head of people that live like kind of in chaos. And I think that when you live in chaos, it kind of spills over into the rest of your life. But first, before we get into all that stuff, have you always been a super organizer?
You know, I kind of always have, which is not what people want to hear. But it is true. Now, that said, I was taught to be organized. It doesn't just like come up organically. I was taught to be organized by my dad, actually. My dad is a very organized guy. He's always been very productive. And so that was just normal for me. And my personality is such that like checklists are like very fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
And so having like a daily checklist of tidy this, like it makes me feel like I have control in my world. And so yeah, that's kind of always been my normal. And I didn't sort of know that wasn't normal for everybody until I got a little bit older.
Yeah. So what was your inspiration to start your business?
So the original inspiration was I was in graduate school and I sort of thought, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I can't believe I got in. All of these people that are in my program are smarter than me. What's going on here? And, you make friends with people and you go to visit their apartments. And I went, I see. Being organized is my secret weapon. Truly. Yeah. Like my apartment was, tidy, nothing fancy. I was in my 20s in grad school, but, tidy. I have my system. I keep track of my assignments with lists. And some of my friends' apartments were not that. And so I thought, okay, this is something that I have that everyone could have. It's something everyone can learn, but everyone doesn't have. And I can maybe be the one to help them find that.
Do you think they don't have it or they're just lazy?
So I don't think people are just lazy. I think people are uninformed. And I also think that people are making a sort of back of the envelope cost benefit analysis that's not informed. So for example, wisdom says, make your bed in the morning. It's going to start your day off right. Your room will seem tighter. Everything flows from there. Most people go, the time it takes to make my bed is not worth it. And so they're making that quick analysis in the back of their minds, that's not for me. It's not worth it. And so for me, I find that part of helping people get organized is showing them how big the impact can be on their daily life. So it's not that they're lazy. It's that they don't know what it's like and how much better it is when your normal everyday spaces are just tidy and organized.
I'm used to be a clean freak. I'm not as much anymore. I've kind of relaxed on that, but I've always liked my space to be neat and tidy and organized. And sometimes it's not always organized, right? Because we're in a hurry. We can't always have, but I'm one that likes to get up and make my bed. I really do, just because I feel like it sets the tone for the day. And it allows me to just feel like, okay. And I like to get into bed. I like to get into a made bed. There's just something about at the end of the day, pulling back the covers, getting into a nice, well-made bed that is just kind of allows you to sleep better. And so my sister, she is not as tidy. I think she's very clean, but not as tidy. And she's got one room where she's, God bless her, she's got one room where when she lived with me when we were in our early 20s, she likes her clothes go everywhere. It's just always been that way, always a mess. And I just find it interesting because she's very clean, but she can't, for some reason, she cannot just get that one room organized. And I'm sure you come up against that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I come across that, I really like to drill down into the why of that behavior because I'm not a mental health professional. I don't know what's behind it, what's the cause. Yeah. But if the person can describe to me what their flow is through a space and why they're doing that and what they're trying to avoid, basically, because a lot of what we do with some of these habits that don't serve us well is we're trying to avoid pain. And the
Yeah.
pain in this case might be the time that it takes to fold that shirt and put it away. For some people, that feels like a huge burden. And they're like, I cannot possibly.
Wow.
So for someone like that, it's talking through and I'm like, okay, so folding it and putting it on a shelf, not going to work for you. Totally fine. Let's think of some other options. Do we want to have a bin on a shelf? Do we want to have a drawer? Do we want to have hooks where you can just throw the thing on the hook? Like there are other solutions. And I think the idea that you have to have a certain kind of organization to be organized really prevents people from getting organized because they're like, well, I can't do that I see on Instagram, so I'm not going to do it at all.
Right. Yeah. And see, this is where I think this is a good fit for people like putting labels on themselves when it comes to something like this, right? Because there can be a label there, and then there can be a lot of other stuff there that they haven't dealt with. And just that idea of having to be organized is, like you mentioned earlier, so overwhelming to them that it's like, why even bother at all? Right. And so, I mean, and that's where you come in and help them. How do you reduce that overwhelm for your clients? Because I think that is like you're kind of like a counselor in a way with organizing. No, you really are, because someone's like that cannot handle that, like, saying they don't know how to do it or they're not informed. Like you have to reprogram their mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really by breaking things down. So there's something that I've noticed over the years of organizing where something our brains do is called chunking, where we group things together to make them easier to process. So like when you memorize a phone number, you chunk the 3 sections of the phone number. Well, a pile of clutter gets chunked. And so the brain looks at it and goes, big giant pile, scary. So my job is to break it down into little parts and to just ask questions about each little part. We don't zoom out. We zoom way in and we just go one step at a time through each little piece. And breaking it down makes it a lot less scary. And it also makes the decisions easier because you don't have to say, I'm getting rid of this whole pile of clutter, but oh my God, there might be something in there that I need. You just have to make one small decision at a time and eventually get there.
Yeah, no, my mother used to save everything. Like she's fine now, like totally different. But when we were younger, I would come over to her house and she'd set piles of stuff all over, and then I'd start throwing it away because I would go through it and it just was like garbage. It was garbage. And she'd get so mad, like, oh my God, I needed that. And it's just like, no, you didn't. It was junk mail. You did not need that. And she would get mad at me, but I would do it every time I came over. I'm like, oh my God, I just gotta throw this out. This is garbage. You don't need this. Like, just throw it out. And it was just interesting. She was overwhelmed, number one, going through it, but then she also thought that she needed it, but she really didn't.
Yeah, I see a lot of that. And there's also something where like you have these patterns in your life and you have these sort of like shortcuts. Like if it comes in an envelope that looks like this, then I keep it. It's these shortcuts.
Yeah.
And sometimes the shortcuts stop serving you and you don't realize when that happened. And so, for example, if you grew up earlier in the last century and you were used to the fact that mail means it's important, it's really hard to switch over to be like, I need to look for the type of mail that's important and be okay with that. So when I run into issues like that, and I still run into issues like that a lot to this day, and even with younger people, I just sort of talk them through. It's like, okay, I think I need it. Okay, for what specific case?
Yeah.
Okay, how likely is that specific case to happen? Okay, if you did get rid of this and that specific case did happen, what's your plan B? And so talking through all of those things gives people more information and sort of empowers them to go, you know what, I can make this decision. And I know that the downside risk is so low that I'm going to be okay. Because that's what we're trying to avoid is the unknown, the fear of avoiding pain of I made a wrong decision and now I'm totally screwed. That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. What's good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. So I'm very much into my vitality, my health and wellness, fitness, all those things. So I love the telehealth concierge services. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but there's an online telehealth resource to help you with your health and wellness, sexual health, weight loss, peptides, what have you. And I really enjoyed the last therapy I did with them. This time I'm doing weight loss, you guys, because I've been a little bit slowing down here at this age, and I'm looking for something to boost that metabolism. I highly recommend Valhalla Vitality. I have a discount code for you, Deanna15, and I will have the link in the description below for you to go sign up, Check them out. Get your appointment scheduled. You'll have a meeting with a great telehealth doctor, supervisor, consultant that will walk you through what it is that you're looking for to improve in your vitality. Again, this is Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast, and I'm here to endorse Valhalla Vitality. What's the difference with how you help people in modern urban living get organized? Because I'm urban. I'm living in a tiny little apartment
Yeah.
where I used to live in the suburbs and had a big, huge townhouse. So
Yeah.
way different. So how do you help people in the urban spaces get organized?
Yeah. So I live in a city in the middle of San Francisco, and most of my clients are in San Francisco. And the needs of a city lifestyle are just different. You don't have like a lot of tools and a workshop and a lawnmower and a snowblower and all of these things. And so it's really about focusing on what your actual life patterns are and organizing to fit that. For a lot of us, that means like the drop zone by the front door is really important. We don't have mud rooms. We don't have a garage or a laundry room. It's got to be right by the front door. So how do we make sure we have just what you need by the front door and make it as unobtrusive as possible so that walking into your house is like a peaceful experience instead of a stressful experience? But the thing that I always say too is like so in San Francisco, there are a lot of transplants. A lot of people come here from all over, and a lot of people sort of see it as temporary. Like, I'm here, I'm in this apartment,
Sure.
it's temporary, but my next move is to the big house. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And they're in this holding period of like, I'm keeping all my big house stuff
Yeah.
because I might be there someday. And my whole thing is like, this is the envelope that you've got. Like, let's maximize the space that you have and not be living a what if someday kind of life, because you may not. And I see it all the time in San Francisco. And even if you do buy here in San Francisco, you're buying a condo.
Yeah.
So-
Right. Well, Chicago too, and the areas that do have the big homes is not really attainable for the majority of people,
Right.
right? So the everyday person is living in an apartment or a condo.
Exactly. And even the people in the big houses here in San Francisco, and I've worked in some of them, I work in all sizes of home.
Okay.
Even those people will tell you, this is not enough storage space. I can't believe my house is so small.
Oh wow.
So-
They're living in
So
a
it-
house then.
Yeah. So to me, that says it's not that your place is small. It's that you have to calibrate your stuff to the
Yeah.
size of the place that you have, whatever size that is.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have? I want to hear a story, like a good one, a good or like organizational story where you went in and what the house looked like and how you worked with your client to how it ended up at the end.
Yeah, well, let's see. The one that's coming to mind, because we do a lot of organization after people move. I wish in my heart of hearts that people came to us before they moved, because if you declutter before you move, that's way better. However, whenever you come to us, we can help.
Yeah.
So, beautiful house. This is actually in the suburbs, and they had moved in, and it was pretty much moved in and done. They had some stuff everywhere, but no more than usual. But the garage, 3-car garage, completely full of boxes, like with like
Oh
2
my
lanes.
gosh.
And we couldn't even really walk into it, honestly.
Yeah.
And they anything that didn't fit in the house, the movers had just put into the garage and closed the door. And they said, this is going to be our workout room / home office. And I was like, oh, okay. So we basically had to open up every box, sort it all out, because it wasn't packed by category necessarily, because movers just pack as they see, right? They don't sort for you. They just pack as they see. And helping this couple who, by the way, both had a full-time job and 2 little kids and a nanny running around, like kind of chaotic, help them figure out what needs to stay, what needs to go. Does it go in the garage? Does it go in the house? Does it go in the attic? And just figuring out all of those jigsaw pieces. And they just didn't have the time to do it. And for them, it was really eye-opening in terms of what they had packed that they really wish they kind of hadn't. And also like, a question of like, who's responsible for what? Because the mom was like, okay, I can make decisions on this stuff. And the dad was like, I'm just going to defer to the mom.
Yeah.
Which is tough, right? When you only have the dad on site. So it was a really interesting process. But in the end, all the boxes were unpacked, put away everything in the built-ins in the garage, and they're good to go.
How long did something like that take you?
That was probably overall a week solid worth of work, but we did it spread out over the course of a few weeks. We do that frequently because having an organizer that's as detail oriented as we are on site is actually pretty exhausting because you're having to make a lot of decisions. So we like to spread out the work so that people feel like it's moving at their own pace. There are clients where we'll just go a week straight and that's fine, but
Yeah. Wow. I can see that. So, I mean, I know when I moved, I mean, I've moved quite a bit in my life, but I've always like gone through stuff and I got rid of it,
yeah.
There was one situation where I had to like pack up everything very quickly, and the overwhelm of not really packing in an organized way, and when you're unpacking it, just created so much like anxiety. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really rough. Unpacking there's no two ways about it. It's just not fun. Like there's nobody who's like, "Yay, I'm gonna unpack my whole house." Like that is
Yeah, no, I
not
don't think
fun.
so.
It's why it's one of the services we provide because people hate doing it. But yeah, the more you declutter before you move, the less painful that unpacking process will be. And even when we do work with people before a move and they, really declutter. And one of my clients, she was like, "I'm gonna be ruthless." Like she was like,
Yeah,
"Gonna ruthlessly purge." Even then, we're unpacking boxes, and she's like, "What is this stuff? I can't believe I packed this."
yeah. What are the benefits? And I'm sure you talk about this when you're actually working here, like one-on-one with your clients. What are the benefits of getting your surroundings, what you live in every single day, into a neat, organized space?
Yeah, so the way I talk about it is that it saves your most precious resources. So number one, it saves you time. I mean, think
Yeah,
of all the back and forth across the house when you can't find something and you're looking for something and a kid is going, "Mom, where's my backpack?" And the spouse is going, "Hey, did you see my whatever?" And it kind of cuts down on that.
sure.
And because of that, it saves your energy. All of that stuff is really draining. And this is a place where decision fatigue is a real problem for people because we only have limited capacity for decision making in a 24-hour period before we need to sleep and rest and renew. And
Wow.
any decision counts towards that energy. Like there's lots of studies on this. So a decision
Okay.
you're having to make about do I throw on these mismatched socks on the kid or do I spend the time to find the matching socks? That counts as a decision. And
Right.
maybe you're going to be at work later in the day and have to make an important decision and you're running on fumes. So when you're organized, it really saves that energy. And then it's just a feeling of control and sanity that
Mm.
is hard to describe to someone who's never really inhabited an organized space because it's very ephemeral. But once people look around in a space that we've organized, they go, "Oh my God, you mean I can live like this every day?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you can." And that feeling is indescribable.
Yeah. I love that. Do you also help with like process flow of the kitchen and how you put things?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I love it. I love it. I don't know if I'd be able to handle dealing with people and having them decisions.
You have
So if I
you have to love people, and I do, and everyone's story is interesting, and everyone's got a story, and
Yeah.
that's part of the fun of it all.
Well, with that being said, Lucy, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more if they want to work with you? Do you work through via Zoom? Can you help
I
people?
do. Yes, I do virtual organizing. I also do in person in San Francisco Bay Area, Santa Barbara and Ventura counties in California, and Lake Tahoe in California, Nevada. Um, and virtual, yeah. And so everything's on my website, lmwedits.com, and I am at LMW Edits on all the socials. I'm most active on Instagram, a little bit on Threads and YouTube, and we just started a TikTok, so I'm there
Oh,
too.
boy. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Awesome. You guys will put those links in the show notes. So if you connect with Lucy and want to learn more, and if you're not in the San Francisco area, but somewhere else in the US, I'm sure she would love to connect with you and help you virtually with your organizing needs because we can be more efficient, get more time back in our day when our space is organized. Lucy, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
I would just say it's just stuff. You are a great person. Your memories are valuable. Your relationships are precious. Everything else, it's just stuff.
Yeah, no, I love that because yeah, it's just stuff. You don't need it. Throw it out.
Yeah, it's just stuff. Whether you get rid of it or not, it's still just stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, thank you for what you do. I think it's awesome. I think that living in an organized space is really key to, and this is my personal opinion, your mental health, because when you live in when you just we didn't even talk about hoarders, but someone who is hoarding stuff that can't get rid of things, they are dealing with some mental stuff. And if you are getting to a point where you can't walk in your home, or there's just piles of stuff everywhere, that's something to really look at. Like, you got some things going on there that you need to deal with. And so I think someone like you that can come in and kind of help with that process really help heal people too. I mean, you might not think that, but I do. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so rewarding. I just love it.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show, and we really appreciate you sharing your story and all that you do.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.